Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I'm so glad that you could keep our appointment. Tonight's guest, Elder Kwame Sun Horse, is a researcher of African history, Indigenous American culture, and spirituality, and the founder of Awakening True Universal Minds, an organization committed to the research and dissemination of cultural, historical, and spiritual wisdom of the original people worldwide. Kwame Sun Horse is a member of the Committee for the African Holocaust Memorial at the Kemetic Institute and a member of the Council of Elders for the Healing Lodge of the Children of Two Shields. As a student at Malcolm X College, he majored in Black psychology, where his passion and innate gifts were further cultivated, leading him out of the university learning environment and into national libraries and the lectures of world-renowned scholars. He has facilitated traditional rites of passage programs in the Akan Fante tradition, both nationally and internationally. With over 25 years of experience in the field, Kwame Sun Horse has served as a national consultant on best practices in human rights in SuperMax prisons and has presented and written extensively on the subject from slave-free to private prisons. He is recognized as an elder in the 7 sacred ceremonies, including Iniki Sweat Lodge, Mbleka, Vision Quest, and Sundance rituals. He travels the world as a consultant, speaker, educator, community servant, and spiritual helper, and is dedicated father to 6, 11, grandfather to 7, great-grandfather to 1, and trusted brother to many. Elder Kwame gives honor to his beloved teachers and guides who contributed to his education and deepened his understanding, his love of humanity, and dedication to work. And it includes, among others, Carolyn and Jimmy Lackey, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Asa Hilliard, Dr. Anthony Mensa, Dr. Jacob Carruthers, Baba Hannibal Afrique, Baba Obadiah Williams, Dr. Yusuf Ben Johanan, and many, many others. I want you to help me tonight. Welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G, Elder Kwame Sun Horse. Welcome. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. How are you?
Good evening. Grateful. How are you?
Look, I'm good now that we've connected. I almost thought I was going to have to do one of those off the cuff shows all by myself to get this together. But thank you so much, Elder Kwame. Thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for bringing your wisdom and your knowledge and your expertise. And we had an awesome conversation a few days ago. I think you adjust your camera.
No, I'm just trying to adjust my screen so you can see me.
Oh,
I had to use my iPad instead of my laptop.
Okay. So, well, like as I said, I am happy to have you on Office Hours with Dr. G. Thanks to my dear sister, Mother Kai. Everybody knows Mother Kai because she's a frequent guest on Office Hours with Dr. G. And she was like, Dr. G, you must get my brother on the show. And I thank you for agreeing to come and share with us. You have a fascinating background and a wealth and breadth of knowledge. You all who are in the audience, please share, like, subscribe if you have not already, and get yourself a pencil or a pen. I always want to say pencil, but pen and paper, because Elder Kwame, when we talked, he gave me the titles of so many books and resources that you're going to want to write some stuff down. So with that, we're going to talk about I called it ancient wisdom and present truth. You give us a little bit more about your background, how you came to work in the field that you're working in now. I know you work a lot in with the prisons and some other things, but you also work with Indigenous tribal leaders. You're one of the leaders, as a matter of fact. So we get confused sometimes about us, the melanated folks, and we think that the so-called Indians are other people and not us. And so can you enlighten us on that?
Yes, thank you. And that's an excellent question, a good place to begin, because as our grandparents, I know mine used to say, you got to know where you come from to know where you can go. And
Absolutely.
so, in that part of understanding who we are as a people, Dr. John Henry Clark used taught us in saying is that you define a people by land, history, and culture. Land, history, and culture. This land is Turtle Island. It was inhabited by many nations here before the invaders, and even to the part that we were in exchange, being from the continent and having the inner exchange of cultures and being able to look at, and that's why I wanted my PowerPoint, and I'm just trying to see how I could have gotten it in here, because we look at the critical race theory is the main thing that's in the news right now, and that they're so afraid of 1619, which was in a book by Lerone Bennett. Lerone Bennett, that came before the Mayflower. And in that book, he wrote about the 16 and 19, the colonization, but we had been here long before. And what I wanted to talk about in that, we 1311. A lot of people don't know that in 1311 we came in 2,000 ships came to the Western world and settled basically around Brazil and South America. But they did explorations up into the North America, and they were able to even travel up the Mississippi, and they were part of the First Nation peoples and cohabitating with them, or the Algonquin, the Iroquois, Mohawk, and Seneca, those First Nation tribes of the Federation here on Turtle Island. And so that was the beginning, because that was Amabaraka in 1311 came here with 2,000 ships, papyrus reed boats. And Amabaraka was, some say in history, the brother, but they were kin to Manamusa. Manamusa was one of the richest. Hold on a minute, I want to show. His exhibit was just here. And this is his exhibit that was at the Museum of African American Studies in Washington, D.C. He was looked at as the richest man in the world. Nobody has had, and what he did was change the gold market of the world. And this was his brother that came here in 2,000 ships. And you can find information about Amar Baraka. I'm trying to look at my notes. But you can just type in him 1311 Amar Baraka's voyage to the Western world, and that was in 1311. We look at what's happening with China right now, but in 1421, China came here to America and explored and was part of mixing in the cultures of the indigenous people here. And then we could go back further and go to 1521. This is all before the Mayflower. And so what we're looking at in China coming here, and there's a book by Galvin Menzier, Menzier, on, the book is called 1421. And it talks about the Chinese explorations that they sent out a fleet of ships, and they came here and explored in this continent called Turtle Island long before the Europeans got here. And then we got to go back to look at 1521. There in South Carolina, at the Petey River, there was the Spanish Spanish slave traders came there with 100 Africans, and they were setting up a colony. And what they began to do was, one of the cousins of the Spanish colonizers came there, and they began to capture and take Indians to try to take them back to Santo Domingo to sell them into slavery. That was the beginning of the slave trade. from the Americas to the West Indies. Go ahead.
May I ask you a question? So the
I can't
Indians
hear you.
can you can't hear me?
I'm trying to see why. It's something with the volume.
Okay. 'Cause I hear you loud and clear. Let me see. Let me make sure.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit better.
Okay. Here's my question. The Indians that you say were captured and they were trying to capture to take off of Turtle Island, were these melanated, or are we talking
Well, really, all indigenous people are a color. They're not,
okay.
they don't look like Europeans. We
Right.
all had color. They were different hues, because you can go and look at the Cherokee, you can look at the Choctaw, you can look at the Chickasaw. Those were the civilized nations, the Creek. They were a different hue from the Navajo, and the Hopis were chocolate melanated indigenous people. York was with Lewis and Clark, saying that the curly hair people, but they were melanated. Our indigenous people, because in the sacred hoop is the 4 colors. In the indigenous teaching, the first color is yellow for the yellow man, the Chinese that came. The second color is red. The red is for the red man. The west is for the black, which is the black, and the north is the white, and that's the European. So we knew all these hues existed in the world. We knew this by the sacred circles that we made, and the items of ceremony that we used them in. We knew that these people were coming here. There was a prophecy said that there was going to be 4 things that were going to come to this Turtle Island. That was the book, the song, the liquid, the book, the song, and the card. And if you understand what that is,
would the liquid be the alcohol?
Alcohol,
Firewood,
alcohol, the Bible,
the
Star Spangled Banner, the Indian identification card, and Social Security card.
Okay.
Those were the way
that was prophesied.
That was foretold in a prophecy in the First Nations. And so what we're looking at is those things that they talked about. If we look today, even in the Atlantic slave trade, 3 things that started the slave trade was the liquor, guns, and cloth. And if you look at today, what are the 3 most powerful things going on of destruction in our community? Liquor stores, black on black crime with guns, and we want to wear everybody's designer clothes. Those same 3 things are causing the same trade and doing the same thing to our people. And so with that happening, we began to see 1521 when the Spanish came and built the colony, and they were taking the indigenous people, because there was another slave trade that was beginning in the English colony up in Maine, Massachusetts, and all there. They were capturing the Indians there and taking them down to the West Indies and trading them for the Africans that had been broken, and doing that. And I tell you, if you want to look about finding out more information on that, you can go to this book,
Surviving Genocide.
Surviving Genocide. And what it talks about is the slave trade, the Trail of Tears, and all the atrocities happened before this country became a country. Another excellent book to go with, The Resilience.
Native American Resilience. Okay, story.
Right. And this is by the author,
P.S.
Sturgeon. These are people that are writing the story and telling the hidden truths. And so in 1521, those Spanish, the 100 Africans that they had brought to what was now the PD River, because that was a nation. The PD, the Yamasees were a part of South Carolina and North Carolina. And so in the PD Indians being taken, they joined forces with the 100 Africans and they burnt down the colonies. And those 100 Africans assimilated into the nations of the South America, South Carolina and North Carolina, which were the PDs, the Yamasees, part of the Cherokee nations. So we were already here before the Mayflower.
Okay. Someone asked, what about Seminole?
The Seminole the Seminole word means runaway. And what happened with that part of them, the European coming in, and I'm jumping ahead, is because the Seminole was a mixture of the PD Yamasees when they were beginning to colonize and enslave in North and South Carolina. That was before Georgia's territory was founded. They would run away to the Spanish colony, which was Florida. And they began to come together with the Floridian Indians there. And what they did was they went into the swamps and the runaway. And that's where you get the Seminole. Seminole only means runaway. It was a combination, just like the Creek were called Creek. But when Tecumseh came there and he was the Shawnee chief, which Linawe Nila, that is my ancestry. I am Shawnee. And so when and I'm jumping ahead because I'm trying to keep this timeline together. And 1521 is when that happened and that rebellion. And so later on came the 1587 that they came again here. And what they did was, in them coming, they came in and they brought in their disease because Georgia was not settled until 1732. Georgia was founded by James Oglethorpe, and it would be, if you can go on Georgia Historically Quarterly and go to the magazine June 1932, there's an article in there by Fante saying that Georgia was founded as a white supremacy colony because it was a prison camp. Because what King George was doing was taking the people out and sending them over here to establish his colony. Go ahead.
May I ask about King George? Because I've been told that the king at the time when they were rebelling against the king, eventually, that this was a melanated king on the other side of the pond. And although the pictures don't tell us that, because historically they change things. But what do you know about that? That there was a Moorish king that, if you will, that had sent the Albions over here, some of them the degenerates or the thieves and the whatever. Do you know anything about that?
Not in the royal families. And looking at the Moors, you would be good to get this.
The gold. Oh, okay, yeah. The Golden Ages of the Moors, and it's by Ivan Van Sertima. Okay,
right. And that gives you, in actuality, a lot more because, see, what we have a history. The Moors went into Spain and Portugal in 792. They populated Spain, Portugal, Italy, most of Europe, all the way into Russia. Because when they went in, there was one university and they did not believe in bathing. By 1491, when they were ousted out of Europe, coming out of there, was that we had over 16 universities, and they had thousands of bathhouses because in them being Muslims, they always had to wash before prayer. And this was the culture that they took and introduced into Europe, because only the priesthood were the peoples that of learning. And so the Moors took culture into Spain, Portugal, and that, because this was part of what North Africa, because see, there were 6 slave trades before the Atlantic slave trade. There was the Sahara, Trans-Sahara, the Ottoman, there was the East African slave trade, and there was the South Africa, one trade down in South Africa, because on East Africa, they had Fort Jesus. And if you remember the movie on the Amistad, that the British officer was blowing up the church and saying there was no more fort there in Zanzibar, because that's where they had established Fort Jesus. Okay. And they blew it up in order to make sure, because they were the first ones to come out of the slave trade. Okay, coming back to the Americas, 1521 was the part of the Spanish, and then we migrated and came into that. And that also, we had the Spanish that were explorationists, and there was an African who was mixed with the indigenous, who led Hernandez on his expedition to find what is now called Arizona and New Mexico. And he explored, coming back from that, coming up out of Florida, coming into there through the Gulf of Mexico, finding those 2 lands, and then coming across the Mississippi back to the east. So we have been here and been exploring this land long before the European even knew, because there have been, I'm trying to remember what book it's in, but there is papyruses that they found in the pyramids when they were grave robbing, because they wasn't, archaeology is nothing but grave robbing. And what they were doing was grave robbery, and they found papyrus that mapped out South America, North America, the Mississippi River, and the Amazon River. And so we knew that this land was here because we had already been here. And so what we're now looking at is that the invader came in with getting the knowledge that the church had stolen. They began to put in the exploration, because what happened with their trade in Asia, when Marco Polo was going into China, bringing the spices out, what was called the Silk Road, when they went into China, they brought out a disease and dang near wiped out the people in Italy.
So wait a minute. So was the disease?
It was a virus that they brought out.
When they had, isn't it not interesting? A virus out of China?
Their viruses has always been here on this planet.
I know, but I'm just thinking
the part of it is that they brought it out of there and came here, because I'll get to the part about the smallpox. And in the invaders coming in and into the South Americas and the Americas, there were over 60 million indigenous people here between the South Americas and the North Americas. And what happened with it, and this is in this book here, Surviving Genocide. Okay. And what it talks about, that there, by the time that they got here, came back here in 1619, they had about 6 million, because what they had done was they brought the infection, the smallpox and other viruses, that the measles and things that they had brought from Europe, brought here, and we had no diseases or viruses. And this wiped out whole nations, because when they brought a native back that they had stolen in 1615 and brought him back after they took him to Europe, and he came back here, he said that his people was from Maine to Massachusetts. You could see the smoke in the forest all along the coast, and knew that there were people and civilizations in there. When he came back with them in 1619, he went to find his people, and all he went and he found villages with nothing but bones. And so what they did was they genocide and wiped out the people. This is where we get when Malcolm says Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Yeah,
It's because what he was saying was the European came here on top of us. We were here. That's what he was saying when he said Plymouth Rock landed on us. The us was already here. And so in that 1619 and Virginia, those 20 indentured servants that they traded for goods in order to get some food supplies, in order for them to make it back down to the West Indies, they were indentured servants. They were not
slaves,
what we call chattel slaves, because they became free and owned property. And this is where you have what's called the Baker's Rebellion. The Baker's Rebellion was when the Irish, the German, those Europeans that were coming here doing indentured servitude were joining with the African to bring about a revolution that was what created the white people, because they made a law saying that these people that were indentured servants were white people, and they were given rights more than the red man. The red man, the indigenous people, had lesser rights than the African.
So were the Africans the white people?
The indentured servants, the Germans, the Irish, that they came over on the boat and they worked as indentured servants to pay off their voyage, pay for their voyage coming to America.
And who did they work for?
The Anglo-Saxons.
Okay.
The Anglo-Saxons would be, okay, the Anglo-Saxons would be a good book. I'm with you.
Okay. I told y'all he was going to have a lot of books.
Stamped from the beginning. Ibram Kendi. And what he did is he broke down the history of all of the families of wealth that began, the Matthews, the Cottons. All of these people were the wealthy people that came out of Europe. And they, in turn, established their governments and their colonies in the name of Anglo-Saxons. And so the Irish, the German, they were serfs. They were not Anglo-Saxons because they were not from the royal bloodlines. They were the people, they were the N-word of the white world.
So I am of the, well, I thought I knew that when you, for instance, when you see the crest, you know, the crest, the old European family coats of arms with the crest, and you would always see the melanated person of being individual. Taj always gets on me for saying person, but the guy in the middle is melanated, and then you wonder, like, and are they putting their slaves on there? And then somebody's like, no, that was the nobility, the nobles.
No.
Okay.
Drake, Sir Francis Drake's crest was the head of a black man because the way he got his value of what he did was in the slave trade.
So you're saying that
those folks that
when they put that there, that means that
crests, in certain crests, certain things were looked at as this is how they gain wealth. Okay, we can go one better. We use greenback dollar bills. On the front of it is white faces. You ever seen The Color of Money? It's right there. Is a museum right there in Charleston, North Carolina. A black man was called The Color of Money. It's a magazine, a book. Basically every Confederate dollar had us on it.
Really?
Yes.
So when did they
look
change
up The Color of Money in the South, and you'll see that the Confederate money had pictures of us on the money because
we were the wealth was based on us.
We were the wealth.
Yeah.
because money only stands for my own natural energy yields.
I got that book. It came the other day. I like
Right.
that.
And that's the part that we did, because when you take land, what resources you take from the land, you have to have labor. And if you've got free labor working the land that you stole that didn't pay for it, then you're creating wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and where was I at? 1621, that part. Then you had in 1640, the courts put into law, because then what was happening was miscegenation. The Africans were, the indigenous people of color were marrying the Europeans, and the royal families did not like that. Because if you even look at the back in the history, Benjamin Banneker was famous for designing Washington, D.C. Benjamin Banneker's father was bought by an Irish woman as a slave, and then she married him and had Benjamin Banneker.
Oh, really?
A white woman. But his grandparents were Dogons. They studied the stars. That's why he was able to map out Washington with the alignment of the heavens, because his father's father was a Dogon.
Ah, that makes sense. I never heard that. I didn't know that he was of mixed parentage. I've never really seen any real pictures of him. Then I've heard some.
Okay, Benjamin Banneker was mixed, but the first person killed in the Revolution was a mix. He was indigenous and African. That was Christmas Addicts.
Yeah, I heard of Christmas Addicts, but I didn't know he was mixed. But I've also heard that Benjamin Banner was really Benjamin Franklin, or we've heard some different. I've heard.
Yeah, they all, half truth is a whole lie.
Okay, well, thank you for clear. So, all right, okay, but you heard that too, right?
Right, and I mean, but when we research, we hear, but it's better for you to get these, and find out for your own truth. Then you know the clarity of it.
But can we wholly trust what's written in books? Because
it's who's writing it, and this is the part what we're doing. Right. Because what we're now getting is scholars that are writing that look like us. Ivan Van Sertima looked like us. Ibram looks like us. You got Tommy Burrell looking at brainwashing. You get the books that we're now in the halls of university. And if you ever want to find books on slavery and you're in a university, the Dewey Decimal System is set up in code. You go to the HT section from about 100 to 500 in the HT section where the hidden truth is, and you find all the books on slavery.
HT?
T, hidden truth.
So there's actually in the libraries.
There are thousands of, we used to go, my partner, Obadeli, Larry Williams, wrote the oldest book in the world. Him and Asa.
The oldest book? So let me see.
The oldest book in the world.
It's called The Oldest Book in the World. I was trying to figure out how he wrote the oldest book in the world.
They deciphered the Medu Neter.
Okay.
Asa Hilliard, Larry Williams Obadeli, Larry Obadeli Williams, and Nia DeMal. She came from Third World Press with Hakeem Matabuti. She has the Medu bookstore here in Atlanta in Greenbrier.
Okay. Yeah, I've got several of the Medu Neter books and some of the other. I'm trying to look across from me and see what's there, but most of them are behind me.
The three greatest interpreters of the Medu Neter, besides Champlain, but he was a European and he didn't do it. That was Theophilo Binga, Sheikh Anta Diop, and there's a brother that teaches right now. He teaches Egyptian history, and that is Mario Beatty.
Mario
Beatty.
Baden. Okay.
Right. And he's the president of the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization called ASCAP. But he's a professor at Howard University right now teaching the Medu Neter. And the students go to Kemet and they can stand back and read what's on the walls.
You mean they know how
they
to
can read hieroglyphs.
Hieroglyphs.
That's their European, but it's called the Word of Creator, the Word of God, Medu Neter.
Someone in the chat said that Francis, I've heard this before, Francis Bacon is William Shakespeare.
Well, I mean, they talk about King James Bible was written part by Shakespeare. He took all the writers of the time.
Yeah, they even said that you can find his name in there if you go through it.
Yeah, you can find Shakespeare's name in the Bible.
Right.
They wrote it in different scriptures. All of it is coded.
Well, in terms of, I like what you said. You know, I'm just trying to remember something you shared with me that I thought was very, very fascinating, and I've been thinking about it ever since you told me this. When you talked about spirituality and how everybody's talking about being spiritual, can you explain what you know, because you work with, like you said, Indigenous First Nations people and what their view of it is, and I recently was looking at some videos of the recently transition. Is his name Dr. Patrice, or is it
Patrice Sume?
Yes, yeah, where he does a lot about this. So the railroad, is
that's Indigenous teaching about the mind changer. This is a wellness program of spirituality and recovery done by Don Coyes, a Mohawk Indian out of Colorado. And what they teach is about the mind changer, because in 1750, when they were, like I said, when the liquor came in, they saw that their men were losing their spiritual, their warriorness. They were assimilating into European consciousness. And so what they did was they had to develop a program to get them back to doing the rituals in order to reconnect the spirit and take them out of the bottle. Patrice Sume's wife, she died before he did.
Okay. Oh, yeah, the spirit of intimacy. And they, teach you another way. But you said to me, when people are saying, I'm spiritual, but what did you say to me?
Well, in the word spiritual is the word ritual.
Actually, it is.
And in the word ritual is in there because you have to know how to reconnect the spirit. Yes, you have a spirit, but there's honor in things that you do. Like tonight, this morning at 5 a.m. was the new moon, the first moon of this Gregorian calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's an energy that you can do by planting seeds and doing ceremony in order to connect with that energy that is going to make that moon come forth and light what you want to bring to light in your life. You can use the energy by doing it on that certain time. Tomorrow is the quarter date. The quarter date is between December 21st and March 21st. Winter solstice and spring equinox, that is the middle point, the second. This is what they've been doing. These rituals have been being done. They just
so-called Groundhog Day.
So-called Groundhog's Day is
an actual ritual.
That
and so we're running around waiting to see if a groundhog
but
saw a shadow, but it's something else that we really should be doing.
But what the essence of it was is that in them looking at if there is a lot of sunlight in that on that day, that means that winter is in. So you got to prepare to start getting ready for the crops. If it's still cloudy and rainy and snowy, then you know you're going to have a longer winter, so you don't have to prepare the ground for planting. That's because we overstood the part as above, so below.
Okay.
And what you do is that December 31st is the alignment of Sirius directly overhead in its constellation, beginning its solar count. It comes every year. It comes directly overhead, and then July 24th and 25th is directly points right to the Queen's Chamber there in the Pyramid of Giza and aligns and make the Nile River rise. We knew how to read the astro mean. That's what astrology means, is me reading myself.
The astro me.
The astro you, because your head is Aries, your feet is Pisces.
Right. Okay.
And that's the spiritual. And so if you overstand when there are certain alignments and certain things in the planetary alignments, there are certain energies that are coming onto the planet. We're at the beginning of the 25,920 year journey again around the Milky Way. We just crossed the galactic center in 2012, even when you look at the Mayan calendar. It was really October 2012, but they said because of the winter solstice, they wanted to be exact. But
so what were they saying? What were they actually?
It's the count, because
when everyone thought it was going to be the end of, I didn't think it was, but they were pointing to the end of the world. What was it? The end or
it was
of
the
or
end
beginning
of that era of that world of 2,100 and see the 25,900 years is what it takes for each sign for this planet to go through. So we have been through all of these signs, and we were at the end. We're at Piscean. Piscean era is ending. So now what we're at is that 2,160 years times 12 is 25,920 years. That is one galactic year. That means that this solar system has made its way all the way around the Milky Way and come back to the point of the waters of Nu, to the galactic center. And our ancestors calculated this in Kemet, in the South Americas, in the Chinese calendars. They were able to watch and see how the star systems move. Even
how,
with the
how, I mean, I guess here's what I'm saying. Did we live long enough to how did they, were they passing this knowledge on to say
you passed it on? Because what did they have to? We didn't have internet, we didn't have television. We looked at the stars and wrote about it. Even the Dogon knew the whole system of Sirius A, B, and C. They just found this out with the Hubble telescope back in the early 1990s.
Right. Yeah, I heard Greg Braden just recently, today maybe even, saying that that they have found that what the pale fox. What I heard him say, that what's in us is we're more technologically savvy than any technological machine that has ever been made. That we, when you look at our physiology and everything, what we have now, it's like it's been shut off for what it could really do. But the reason why they didn't need all these other things, because we were able to communicate and with our, what we would call telepathically, we were able to, like you said, know things, be able to. And now it's almost like we were dumbed down, like shut off and made to depend on external things that have been created to mimic and maybe bypass what was innate in us. What do you feel with regard to that?
Any construction company in the world today that can build the pyramids of Giza?
Nope.
There you go. There's your answer. Because the thing is that our people were so aligned with the heavens that they exactly aligned the star Sirius on its day of July 24th to shine directly through the Queen's chamber, send the light through all the way through the channels and light up the reflection pool at the bottom of the under the Pyramid of Giza, and the Nile River would rise.
So what were the pyramids for? They weren't burial chambers, were they?
They weren't burial, they were portals. Because when you build that structure, a pyramid of limestone and gold on the outside, the cap was gold. What you had was the king chamber, but inside the king's chamber is granite, and it's built in such a way artistically to where when you make a chant, you create a frequency of transportation. You do a mantra that will transport that spirit, that body, back into the cosmos, or it will bring in the spirit. The same way that women can get around and they used to get that stomp and dance and clap and raise a person up. Because once you know how to use the energy, the same way that they do every football season, every baseball season, every basketball season, they herd people into an arena.
Yep.
And they charge them up, and watching them gladiators down on the field or on the court doing their ritual of playing the ball game, as
Suck up
Francis
the
said,
energy.
and they pull the energy.
Loosh. They
right.
call it loosh. Yeah.
And so when they're doing that, they're emitting the frequency to keep themselves in the power of owning those teams and getting that energy. What they're doing is vampirism.
Absolutely. I did a meme about a year ago with that. And what I did was I put together, you remember the Roman Colosseums?
Right.
So one side I had the Roman Colosseum, the other side I had a football field. I put them side, I said the same thing. What they did then, they do now through sports arenas. Then they did it, like with the, gladiators and lions fighting. But they
okay. Now,
something.
Let's go back. They were taught in the universities and the cultures came out of Kemet. There were no arenas of gladiators and fighting in Egypt.
So how did they get that? What made that?
That was their own concept.
Whose concept? The ones
the European concept.
But how did they know that they could extract that?
If you know that you can sit people inside of a university outdoors and begin to teach and get them to all sync together with knowledge, what would you do? You want to keep empowering folks, or do you want to distract and disconnect them?
Distract and disconnect.
There you go.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why they call it America's favorite pastime.
Right.
Pastime. They pass in time. Time is, while you're doing, watching, eating potato chips and, screaming over the game, we're, taking the resources, taking your energy, stealing your, whatever. We are living off you.
Right. Because those owners that own all of those, what you call teams, athletes, paid millions of dollars. It was just high press, the new modern slave trade.
I was speaking, and I know you do a lot with prisons, right? With prison reform.
I did.
You did.
My study was from slavery to private prisons.
Well, go ahead.
No, it was to me, what I was showing is that there is one institution that continues on to this day. And this is what we're now getting ready to go from the addictus. What the word comes is that when you become debted, you're become slave to the debtor. It's even in the Bible. Right. The lender, the debtor is a slave to the lender.
Right.
And so we have been perpetually kept in this lender and debt slavery. And so, and chattel slavery is that you were considered less than human. That came out of chattel. And that happened in 1662, because what happened was that 2 indentured servants and the African ran away. They caught them all, and they told that the African, that by your color, you will never be free of any child coming out of a black woman's womb will be property.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so that was the beginning of chattel slavery.
And chattel sounds like cattle.
Right, because you were property. Because they understood something. In their knowing that we taught them, and here we are here and given an opportunity to build in this little land and be in competition with them, they did not want that, because they knew we could build their civilization, but we couldn't control and own it like we did once upon a time.
So I recently became interested in, there's a bunch of videos on YouTube with regard to World's Fairs and World's Fairs, and a lot of these not ancient, very, very, very old buildings that were grand, that were all over the world, but a lot of them here in in America, that would have been like in the 1800s, and they were like abandoned, like there used to be civilizations there that lived grandly, and then they were gone, and that they turned around, talk about the European, and created World's Fairs and made pretend they had constructed all of these things, which would have been impossible for them to do, but they were really taking over buildings that had been areas that had been abandoned for some reason. Do you know about that? That the World's Fair was a cover up for them doing, like, I guess it was a reset at that time, because at the same time they also had orphan trains going all across the country with these European children that were orphans, that they were taken all over the country, and they had incubator babies, weird stuff like where were hundreds and hundreds of children, big abandoned civilizations that look as modern as today, but they may pretend they made them, but they're saying that these things were made by some other civilization, modernized civilization, but where did they go? So a lot of them saying, and they were huge buildings with doors that may have been maybe 10 feet, 10, 20 tall doors, different things, but they were already here.
Have you ever been to Kemet, Egypt?
I have not.
And the civilization that is there, still one of the 7 wonders of the world. And they still cannot figure out, even in Ethiopia, the churches that are built out of whole one stone, that our people were able to carve out and make these out of one piece of stone, machine cut. The South Americas, they have the step pyramids, which was designed by Imhotep, who was the first pharaoh. He was the first multi-genius. He was a gastritis doctor, and he was also consultant to the pharaoh Zoser, because that's who they're writing about, was Zoser's son was being educated by Imhotep, teaching them how to be correctness and how you raise a son. That's what the first book, that they're talking about in that book, how you raise your children. But what they did is that they built all of these structures. And the thing that you have to understand is there's a grid of energy that runs through this planet.
Those ley lines
and longitude and latitude. This is how but there's a magnetic field that runs in those ley lines. And so Galveston, Texas, there's 3 crystal pyramids built on the 29.6 latitude. If you drew a straight line from them 3 pyramids in Galveston, Texas to Egypt, you would hit the 3 pyramids of Giza. They just built it, and they just plugged in to the pyramid of Giza, because Africa, that continent, is an energy portal because they're still taking gold, cobalt, all the minerals to build the world is still being taken out of that continent. Thousands of years that they've been taken out. So that's the richest land. Now you're looking at connections, and what you're talking about is when they build these structures, they built it for these civilizations built them at a time when the energy was powerful. But as the energy depletes in the grid, the energy depletes in those buildings and what those people were using it for, so they abandon them. They come back and rebuild it and restructure it and say this is a World's Fair. You know, greatest thing to happen in Chicago's World Fair, besides the Haitians coming there and really doing us an honor by acknowledging us. But Nancy Green got a job, and she's been on that job until they just took her off about maybe last year. You know who Nancy Green is, right?
No, I don't.
Aunt Jemima. That was her real name, and she was at the Chicago's World's Fair in the 1800s, and they saw the vaudeville show across from the booth that they had her making pancakes in. They put a rag on her head, and they put the sign up, Aunt Jemima's Pancakes.
So she was there for some other reason, and then
She was there to promote the two lawyers that opened a flour mill that started the company, that remembered that she was a maid for their mother, and they made them pancakes. There was a kid, so they hired her to come make pancakes for the flour mill that they own, and they created the pancakes that we've been calling Aunt Jemima. Her name was Nancy Green.
Okay. And all right, they just decided that was not a good representation.
It's black memorabilia. It's race. It's the same thing as having Robert E. Lee's statue. You putting our women on the box that was a slave or was a servant at that
or
time.
Represented that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of the vaudeville.
I mean, even what they did with what did they call it? Hottentot. They took that.
Yeah, and Hottentot was done, and even with that is that this is where you get the word Tasmanian devil, because when the British colonized Australia with the help of the Irish armies and the armies that they brought with them, they said, well, you can have that island called Tasmania, and you can get rid of all of them people. And that's what they did. They annihilated a whole race of people, and she was taken because of her body and taken there to Europe and put on exhibit.
Yeah.
And see, people have to understand, nature is a great, great architect. The black woman was designed with a large derriere and thighs is because in the environment, when you live in desert areas where you're going to have drought, and that woman has to feed a child, her butt and thighs store fat in order to reproduce breast milk to feed the child.
Well, it's some of us would say we're past having children, and why is the stuff still there?
Well, I mean, it's nature's design, because you've changed the environment which you originally started it in.
So, are you saying that in another environment we stayed in that state longer?
You would have developed in a different way as you grew older. But what happens is that we live in climates, we dark brown, and up there 6 months with everything on top of us covered up. And when we take our clothes off, we light it in whatever. You got 3 different shades of yourself.
That is,
we're not ice people. We were not made to live in the ice. Our melanin. If you go on the stock market, just anyone, type in melanin on the U.S. stock market. Melanin is worth more than gold on the stock market.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, I wrote a poem where I talked about that called Sun Kissed.
Right.
And yeah. Yeah.
And see, this is the thing that we have to understand. The sun is now in a position. I told you we've turned around and we're around the Milky Way, and we've just aligned with the sun in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy. The sun has stages. It goes from a solar minimum to a solar maximum. And when it's in its maximum, it is sending tons of radiation and consciousness down to the earth. The solar winds, the coronal mass ejection. This is why they had to put Soho and all of this up there. If you type in Susan Joy Renison, the diamond, she is what is it? An astrophysicist. And what she was the one who did and told the government of the United States, you all better start watching the space weather, because we wasn't paying no attention to it. That's why in 1987, that coronal mass ejection knocked out Canada and the northern part of New York State, put it in darkness for almost a week to 10 days. Because when that ejection comes off that sun, it will knock out any electrical current on the planet.
Yeah, her book is called Tuning the Diamonds.
Tuning the Diamond, right.
Yeah. Wow. So she's talking. So what they're doing, we hear that a lot of things are being done to block the sun, and so forth. I mean, so that's being done not because of us, but because other skin, like I said, the European skin can't take, the modern European can't take.
And if you go into most cosmetic stores, they selling melanin sunscreen, melanin this, melanin that. They even get melanin. You remember the movie Black Like Me?
Years ago, yeah, with
James Whitmore.
Okay, but I remember the title. Yeah, Black Like Me.
Black Like Me. A white man news reporter shot himself up with melanin and went into the South to write a story.
Was that based on truth?
Yes, a true story.
So, but yeah, I mean, they suntan. They go to tan and booths. I mean, places to get brown, but the skin, the sun in its natural state is not as kind, it seems to them.
And this is where you get what they have, skin cancer, because they don't have the large amount of melanin. They have some melanin. I say when you see the little freckle-faced boy, his melanin just didn't connect.
Yeah, let me share this with you. We're talking about this real quick. It's my poem called Sun Kiss. It says, I know I'm loved by the sun. You see, I am sun-kissed while they are sunburned. It's a cosmic love affair for which others yearn. Our interaction creates liquid gold, but when they get too close, it makes them grow old. The sun within me activates a life-sustaining precious matter about which much scientific chatter has created a sort of a feeding frenzy. Now desperate vamps are out to get me. They now want my melanin to help them exist in a cosmic love affair designed for the sun and the sun-kissed.
Right. And what did they make out of that word, sun-kissed? They had the prune juice, the sun-kissed raisins. All of that, because they understand the power of the sun. Because the sun, this is what Nikola Tesla was trying to tell us, that there's orgone energy and there's sun energy, that we don't need electricity. We can charge up anything that we did. How is it that they've opened up all the tombs in Kemet, in the burial places in the West, and when they open these tombs up, there's no soot, there's no things, but you have colors that are bright and brilliant, that have been last for thousands of years, that they could create a paint. We can't paint our house to last 5 years. You got to get a can that says guaranteed 5 years, and it'll be cracking before the 5th year get here.
True.
And we made paint that lasts thousands of years. And so our ancestors knew you can take copper and you can take salt water. If you ever been on the ocean and been on a cruise at night, when you go to the fantail and you watch the screws turn, you see all of it is illuminated because salt water will turn fluorescent and give off light.
I don't remember doing that when I was on a cruise, and the way things are going now, I don't know the route cruises in my future.
Well, most people on a cruise, they stand down there in the casino or in the dining room
eating all that food. Yes.
Yeah, and see, they never. And the thing I did when I was in the Navy, and we was in South China Sea, I used to come out of my rack and come up and lay on the main deck and just look at the universe. I mean, there was no space between stars.
And it's funny how in the city we barely see them.
Because you take out the light with the city street light. I live here in the country. We don't have no street light. I can go outside and see all the constellations.
Really? Yeah, I was in Chincoteague or Assateague, one of those places, on the beach a few years ago, and it was beautiful. I had my little star thing, and I was like, "Oh, okay, is that?" I could see the constellations. I had my your electronic thing, but you literally could see them.
You see them,
right? Yeah.
And even on certain nights at certain times, especially like 2, 3 in the morning, you come out and you just look at. It's in the south sometime, and in the north, it's according on the season. But you'll see the whole Milky Way across the sky. Because I remember I drove down to Arizona and went into Sedona. And we came down about 3 o'clock in the morning. We went out to what they call this big cathedral. It's called Bell's Rock. And when we got there,
Bell Rock. Yeah.
The whole Milky Way was right over the rock.
Oh, my.
Yeah. But this is where we come from.
And we knew about energies. And like I said, there's like where you were talking about in Sedona, Bell Rock, that's a vortex, there. And I know of people, I have a friend that lives there, but I know of people who've gone there to visit and have just, the experience has just been almost otherworldly for them.
Tomorrow, Ross Ben, Blue Pill and Red Pill, and some other people are there in Tucson, Arizona for the world's largest gem and mineral show that happens every year in Tucson, Arizona, that the whole city is turned into a crystal shop. You have crystals from any place in the world that you could think of. They have them there. And you can imagine
that
the energy that's pulsating in those places, because I remember a friend, he went into this guy's room and it was nothing but labradorite. He said when he opened the door, he felt like he was starting to float. It's because you know what? The energy that comes off of those will radiate, and then you can go in places, and if they got mixed energy, it will trigger you.
I had a box, which is right over there, under my bed that I didn't realize was under my bed, right? I had a box under my bed, and I got on my knees maybe about 6 months ago and went under the bed, and I pulled out this box. That box had no less than about 30 different crystals in it. I said, no wonder I've been crazy in this room. Every time I had a box of 30, 40 crystals in this big box all together. All kinds of stuff. I was like, it's a wonder I didn't lose my mind with that.
Right. And it will do it, because I sleep with a clear quartz crystal in my pillow and 2 lodestone, magnetic lodestones. That's
I got
in order to pull energy and to just keep me transmitting and receiving with sleeping on that crystal.
Okay, yeah. So I heard like bloodstone is good to put under the pillow.
It's according on what you wanted to do, because the thing that I did and what I done was I ran a wire out of my window, copper wire out, and put a copper pole down into the earth and wrapped the wire around it and tied it to my bed frame. in order to ground me, because that grounds my bed, because you're sleeping on a metal frame on box springs with metal coils, and you got Wi-Fi in your house, and you got electrical wires running through your walls. When you're laying there sleeping and your spine is transmitting energy up and down your body freeway to your brain, it gets distorted by all of that frequency. Like you said, all of those crystals under there was protecting you in a good way, because what they were doing is absorbing what was coming to you, so it didn't get up there in the bed with you.
Yeah, but I mean, normally though, I know you wouldn't put all of those crystals necessarily together normally. Like I try to separate all the crystals.
No, I keep a crystal on all my iPad, my laptops. I keep a crystal in front, because that way I break up the blue energy.
Yeah. I recently, and if I don't know if people know, I have some blue lights that were flashing or were staying on, because you have something plugged up, and I realized I had these little black dots that you're supposed to put on, and I thought about it in the middle of that. I covered them.
Yeah, but you can call for that would be, you can go, it's in Switzerland, Nikola Tesla dots and rings, plates. They make specific plates that he designed to break up frequencies, especially on your phones at 5G. But how much time we got?
We've got about 48 minutes.
Oh, we got some more time.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So yeah, I also Shungite,
I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, I'll keep on talking to y'all. I hope you all are enjoying this conversation. Let me see if there are any questions. Yeah, blue light's not good. I know. That's why I covered the blue light. I have these black dots and was able to cover them. But let me see what we have here. Blue light not good. That's right. And don't get.
You're talking about crystals. This would be a good book for people.
I have that. I got 2 copies of it.
Right, but I'm just showing it to your audience.
To the audience. Oh yeah.
And what she does, and that she does the spiritual, both energies, how to use and how each crystal is to work with you. Yeah. Another good book for people looking at how the mineral people works.
Mm-hmm. The Tree of Life. Oh yeah, the Zodiac Salt of Salvation. Who's that by? Because we were talking about by George W. Carey. Now if you all remember, we were talking about the cell salts. Can you show that again, Elder Kwame? Because we were talking about cell salts a couple of weeks ago. Just tree. Yeah. Now bring it up so we can see the Tree of. No, back the other way. There you go. The Tree of Life and the Zodiac Salts of Salvation. And if you raise them up, we can see who it's by. You can raise it up so we can. George W. Carey. For those of you who were looking for some information, and here's another book.
And Judy Hall has one called The Crystal Bible.
I got that right over there. Yep. It's a little small book. Yeah. But yes, here's a beginner's guide to crystals. You just have to know. I've even had crystals. I visited a friend several years ago, and she had this beautiful, forgot what that crystal was. It was brown. And I said, oh, that crystal wants to come with me. She said, oh no. She said, you can't have my crystal. I just got it. And so I went home. She called me the next day and she said, please come and get this crystal. It doesn't want to be here. I knew that crystal. I have that crystal to this day.
Yeah. That's how Ross Ben, if you look at his book, Rock of Ages. Rock of Ages Anew, and on the front is Ross, and that crystal was with a European woman, and he met her at a show, and he saw that crystal, and she turned around there and called him up and had to drive in the middle of the night to bring him that crystal because she couldn't keep it in our house.
Mm-hmm.
When it's time, the crystals will move. But
Yeah.
what we've got to begin to look at how we use those crystals and using the cell salts is because this is what we're dealing with.
Can you the social life of DNA and who can't see the Alondra Nelson? Okay,
Right.
That's Jacob's ladder, isn't it?
No, that's the DNA.
No, I know that, but I mean
Yeah, but it looks like Jacob's ladder.
But I think when I think in terms of the Bible now, I think of all the symbols of what things are meaning, and so I said the DNA. You know that the double helix is actually Jacob's ladder that we're climbing. We're actually climbing back to where we were because we've fallen from our height of what we were.
But what happened is we lost the extension because our DNA was 6 and now we're going back to 12. So now you're getting reconnected. Each strand is getting its total connection.
So we're climbing the ladder.
Right, we're moving up.
That's
and
right.
The part that I'm saying about this is because the crystal and the minerals of the cell salts is the activation for us being able to receive this energy of this reset and where we are in our Milky Way galaxy and where the solar system is emitting energy. What we need are tools. We need the tools to help us to rebuild what you're saying. We're getting the DNA, but we've got to have the mineral resources and the right frequency receivers to be able to receive what's doing, because this is what 5G is distorting about. And this is the part that we have to look, because Ross Ben wrote a book, 5G 101. And in that book, he's telling you the different, right. And that book tells you the different crystals and minerals and foods that you can eat in order to help you build up the resistance that those transmitters are doing to the human body.
Yeah.
Because what we're having to do is deal with something that we haven't been able to look at in a while. It's Black mental health.
Can we see who it's by? Okay. Rita Walker, PhD. Yeah.
Right. And the thing that we're looking at is that when these frequencies starts to distort the brain waves and the neural net, we look at things that we call mental illness is really distortions that's coming to the mind, because the brain is disconnected from the spirit. That's why we say spirit, mind, body. Mm-hmm. Because the spirit entered into the womb in order to give energy for the brain to grow a body. Because your brain, once the egg and sperm met, and they've been proven that when they meet, the egg ignites and turns into light. And that begins the essence of you being the light. That's why we always looking at us, oh, I want to get enlightened. I want to get enlightened. No, you want to go back to that light that you were conceived in.
Mm-hmm. Now I sleep with tourmaline beside my bed, black tourmaline. I keep a large piece of black tourmaline.
Well, all stones is the colors of the shock and energy, because black is the ground, and you got tourmaline, you got jet, you got what is it? It comes from volcano, obsidian.
Obsidian, okay, yeah, I've got that too. I just keep
that's inner earth.
And then I've got magnetic. I've got things that are magnetic. Those
are man-made.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, the only ones that you find really that's why I say I had lodestones.
I have lodestone. It has little
lodestones are magnetic, and that's the part of they're natural. They have a natural frequency of magnet. When you get hematite magnetic, that's man-made.
Okay, yeah, I got hematite, but I've got lodestone too, and I got it in the bag because it actually has little shavings like that come, and then it tracks to it. and so forth.
Right.
And
But that's the natural magnetic of it.
oh, okay, yeah, I actually do have that. And a lot of times, you know, like I said, people, we have to go back to ritual. I like that. What you back to what you said. When I think about spiritual, I'm thinking I'm not as spiritual as I thought I was, because I've got to get more in tune with ritual, those practices and things that the ancestors knew and did that had them at that high vibrational level. And do you have sessions? And I know you do sweat lodges and okay, the gift of sacred pipe. Can you who's that? Um,
And what this is the 7 sacred ceremonies.
now, what about the sacred tobacco?
Tobacco, there are 4 sacred herbs. There's tobacco, this is what you're talking about, the innate ceremony.
Okay. All right.
I have one in my backyard.
Is that a sweat lodge?
Yeah, that's the sweat lodge.
Okay.
And
what is the purpose of that?
I'll share with you. The innate ceremony is the womb of Mother Earth and connection to the cosmos, because the womb, it's made in the shape of an igloo, like a woman, but it's made, you have to crawl in, just like you crawled out of your mother's womb, you crawl into this womb. You crawl in and you sit up on the earth, and sitting up on the earth in the fetal position. And what's done is that there are 28 stones. We call them grandmothers and grandfathers. They're the oldest record keepers. And what we do is we take standing talls, the logs that we take, and we put them in the fire and burn them until they become red hot again. And then once they become red hot, we take a pitchfork and we bring them out, and then we usher them in, and we have a hole, which is the hole of the black hole, like in the Milky Way. And we put them in there. And then what we do is we take the waters of life. So we're taking earth, we're taking water, we're taking fire, and then when we pour the water on the stones, we make air. What's called the grandfather's breath. And the grandfather's breath is what gives the steam in order for the body to perspire, to release its toxins. And as it's releasing its toxins and you're sweating, you're also activated the record of those stones that you're now breathing in and absorbing into your skin. So you're taking in its DNA when you're releasing all of your negative toxins. You're taking in its energy.
Now, so is there a problem with how long you? I mean, say, suppose is there anyone that should not?
No, the proper way is that there is no time that you have to stay. When you want to come out, the facilitator has to open the door, and the fire keeper opens the door and brings you out. If you want to go back in after you've rested and go out, there's no thing that says you have to stay. And what happened was James Ray, who did the lodge in Arizona that killed those 3 people, he was not trained. You are not supposed to do any of these 7 sacred ceremonies unless you have been initiated, one by what's called that.
Okay, see that.
Which one is that? That's the Sundance.
Well, we can't yet. Oh,
let me get it.
Okay.
That's called the Sundance. That's the highest ceremony you do, where men go in, you fast with no food or water for 4 days, and you dance at that tree with pegs in your chest.
Pegs in your chest?
Right. See, if you can see that.
Okay. So your chest is actually pierced.
Your chest is pierced, and men sacrifice their flesh just as women sacrifice their flesh to bring forth life. We sacrifice our flesh on both sides of our heart in order to commit to our people for whatever we're going to do for that year. And what you do is you fast, you have no food or water for them 4 days. You dance looking into the sun. You have 4 times in the day that you come out. In the morning as the sun rises, in the afternoon, at high noon, you come out at midday, and you come back out at sunset. And then you go back into the sweat lodge and you sweat and purify, and then you rest into the purifying unless you're a Pagian. Then you stay tied to the tree. You keep the pegs in and you stay at that tree. It's according to what you're praying for.
What's a Pagian?
It's that you're praying for something special.
Okay.
Hapagi, you're asking the person, you're presenting the pipe, you're asking Creator to help something that you want to get done. Okay. If you want a family member who's got disease or something is going on in the family, if there's something wrong, someone ill that you really care about, then you're making a sacrifice by suffering in order for that person to get what they need.
And is that done annually, you said?
It's done every year at the summer solstice.
Okay, so you have to go through that every year?
No, you only make a 4-year commitment.
Okay.
So I made mine in 2006. I did my 4-year commitment.
Okay.
And I've got the scars to prove it.
Wow. So now you're initiated into it. Now you don't have to go. Yeah.
No, I've been trained by that part of it, and I know these 7 sacred ceremonies. See, these are the 7.
You have to turn it around a little bit. Turn it a little bit. Move it over. Yep. Yes. Oh, the white buffalo.
Those are the 7 sacred ceremonies of the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota Nation.
Okay. I think we got a little frozen there. Let me see. Hopefully we're frozen. Okay. Let me get out of this. Let me see, y'all. Well, let's see if we can get him unfrozen, y'all. Let me see what comments there are up here. Let me see where we are. Let me see. Those noble ties in the red. Look up at the elevated trail team. If you only knew the sacrifice. Oops. Well, hopefully we're getting back. I want to thank you all for being attentive. Hopefully we'll get Elder Kwame back. He was full of knowledge. Let me see. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's not where we are with according to the, melanated, an elder, sometimes an elder or not is necessarily, able to shake the old way of describing us. I think needs no harm. But I do appreciate y'all respecting the elder. So let me try to see if I can get him back on while you all let me just get see if we can get him back on. Just a minute, y'all. Okay. don't want to end it, but I'm have to. Well, y'all, I don't know. Y'all is voicemail. I do. Oh, here we go. Good, good, good. Got you back.
Hey,
Hey, got you back. Thank you. I was trying to call you. Didn't want to have to talk to myself. Oh, you froze again. Oh gosh. Here we go. Well, no, we don't have him back, y'all. I think he's having some. It might be some connection problems. That's why we got to get back to the way we used to be, because we had our own. We had our own connection. We didn't need this technology. Technology has taken over what we were able to do ourselves. Let me see. He's froze again. I cannot see without these glasses. Let me see. You got me talking to myself now. All right. Got here late. Looks like I missed a lot. Yeah, you just have to do the replay. Yeah, so can you speak on fake crystals and them still having metaphysical fake crystal? Fake crystal. Man-made crystals. Oh. Yes. Yes. Sometimes y'all just gotta overlook that black word. We used it too until we got ourselves together, right? So we, and it takes practice. Some folks just don't transition over, at least even if they know we mean well. So let's eat the meat and spit out the bones. Okay. Want to talk to me about the topic of stateless Moors. Okay. All right. I'm just looking to see what you all have written there. What is Patricia Rutledge Elson? What is sage good? Sage is good for clearing energies and things, bad energy. Matter of fact, here's some bundles, sage bundles. Sometimes you can. This is one that has some other stuff with it, and here's another one just straight up sage that I have burned before. You clear negative energies, clear your space. If you move into a new place, you want to sage that place, before you bring your belongings in. You want to clear the energy, clear the air. If the place that you're living in and you felt something negative has been, maybe somebody's energy was bad and you're sage after they leave. Sometimes if you sage beforehand, they won't even cross the threshold. I have had that happen. Let me see. Got you back? I'm not. Nope, he's freezing again. Something is going on. Sage to a vote. A couple of young ones need some of that, Dr. G. Yeah, sage is. I use sage and I use and then you have. I don't know what we. I use I have a feather that I use for winnowing, which means once it's burning, I actually have can't reach it, but I actually have a bowl that you put the sage in so that it can burn, and then you go through your house to your windows, around your doors, and all that in every corner, and let the sage go up, and then you just So, somebody said dragon's blood. Dragon's blood is good. They got, incense like that. I love, though, I have it downstairs in the holder. Palo Santo. Palo Santo is even better or just as good as sage. Drinking sage. Okay, let me see. Make a doc. Let me look. I'm looking at some of what y'all have written there, so I can at least respond while he's. The PBT is tapping in and they're knowing. You know what? You're right, because every time he tries to get on here, he's frozen, and I just think they don't want They are shutting him down. Must be in Georgia. He is in Georgia. Let me see. Thanks while studying demonstration. Let's see. I don't know. Okay. Okay, Chris Johnson, I see you don't have, please do not put down there that you would like to speak to me on the topic of stateless wars. Again, I see it all 3 full times. If you want to talk to me about it, then you're going to have to contact me, not here on this, not on this platform. You got to call me when the show is over, and not tonight, though, in the daytime. How about that? Y'all, when you put the same question over and over and over and over again in there, I'm just gonna be honest. It's annoying. You don't have to do that. I see it. Okay, just once, maybe twice, but don't keep repeating the same thing over and over. Please don't do that. It Let me see if I'm gonna try this again. See, they will not let him in. Here he is, but he can't come back on. What the heck? I'm gonna see if he can do it on his cell phone. Let me call him on his phone. Y'all, we're gonna finish this. We're gonna try to finish this. Let's see if we can get him on the phone. All right. I'm not being difficult. I'm just saying. Oh, peace and love, Brother Andre. I'm trying to thank you. I love y'all too. Listen, you frozen. So can you try to come back on your cell phone if I send you the link? See if you can do it on your see if you can come on your cell phone. Greetings. Hey, Brother Sa. That's my yoga teacher down there. Let me see. Yeah, you got somebody said they got some Palo in their car. I love Palo Santo. I have Palo Santo and blue sage and white sage and Palo Santo incense, and then I have the Palo Santo sticks, which is what I love. Let me see. You're not yet. Can you hit it on your phone? See if you can come back in on your phone, at least so we can. You see yourself? No, but you haven't come back into the studio yet because you got to come in because you would pop up on my screen if you were actually you have to push the thing to come on the screen. Enter the studio as you'll pop on. I don't know what it is. I think you're saying something that they don't want to go. They don't want to actually be heard. Somebody said put you on duo. Let me see. It won't even let me put you on duo here. I'm looking. Is it? Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put you on speakerphone. How about that? Can you let me see if I can hear you? Can you talk?
Yeah, I can talk.
Let me say, can you all hear him? If I hold my phone here, let me say something, Elder Kwame.
I'm here.
They can hear. Can you hear? He must be going to because can you hear him? Can you hear him? Somebody say yes. Just one of y'all. First one say yes, that'd be enough. You can hear him. Good evening. What's the author's name of the book? The author's name of the book, Ross Ben, RASBEN, Ross Ben. We can hear him. Okay. Okay, there you are there too. Let me see.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to get off the phone.
That's all right. We hanging up. There, are you there? Let's see. I got you muted or something. Unmute yourself. Can't hear you though.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you now. We hear you. Yay! We won. We won. You back. All right. They said, look, they must be something you were saying. You must have tipped them off. You must have said some of them buzzwords, dropping too much truth.
Yeah, that happens. I've had that happen a lot of times. Or I look outside and see a dark car driving past me.
Oh, you get those, huh?
Yeah, I get those every now and then too.
I was saying to somebody that I think I was saying maybe even to my husband yesterday. I said, you know what? I said everybody that says that they're being followed, surveilled, or something is happening that is, they tend to call me, and I was like, why they call me? I said if they're surveying them or following them, now they're going to be looking at me. Why is everybody telling me their stuff? So yeah, I've not seen the cars yet, but I know they out there. I know they're, you know, for what we bring on here. But look, before you get locked up again, I mean locked out, not locked up. I don't know where we were, but in these last 15, 16 minutes ago, we can go over a few minutes. We can go over as much as we want to fix that. Let's where were we? Do you remember?
Well, I was showing you the 7 sacred ceremonies, and
Oh yeah.
that's in my office. I had to come in here to another room in another area of the house.
But we also
But
want to do. What else do you do? Those? Do you do? Say there are people that want to come to your sweat lodge and do that. Do you have like retreats or?
well, I did retreats when I used to live on 22 acres over there in Flovilla. Right now, I'm on 2 acres. I mean, I have small groups that come in. Like I've had ceremonies where friends will come down and we'll, 6 or 8 people, 10 people come. They'll camp out and hang out here because I live on the lake, so we can either go fishing and go hang out on the lake. I got a friend want to come down and we're going to go kayaking on the lake, but it's a good area, And as far as doing sweats, I love doing the ceremony because it helps me to help others to connect to their spiritual connection. I used to do retreats. I mean, I've done retreats for as many as 60 people. I've done sweat lodges. Queen Afua was had me when she did a womb wellness retreat here in Georgia. She had me to do 75 people for her sweat lodges that we did down here in Fairburn. I mean, I've done lodges around the country.
So are they equivalent to somebody doing that? What is that ayahuasca type things when you do a sweat lodge? Is it?
No. That's plant medicine, and that's Native American church. That's when you do peyote and you do the Native American church and ayahuasca. Those are plant medicines that are used for the rewiring of the neural net because the snake medicine that the 2 plants that come out of the Amazon were specifically made to help you to bring out what is deeply hidden in you. And the sweat lodge is to do before you do the ayahuasca ceremony, because what you're doing is you're purifying and clearing out the body of toxins.
Okay.
So when you go into the ceremony, because it's a sometimes an overnight ceremony to do the medicines according to how the person runs the ceremony. But to do that, you purge the same way you purge when you take the medicine of the peyote in the Native American church. All of it is plant medicine in order to help rewire you. Even they have something, we have this opioid addiction that's going around the country, and everybody's in an uproar with it. There's a plant that comes out of Africa similar to ayahuasca. It's called Ibonge. And Ibonge is an African plant that once the ceremony is performed and you take it, your body will not become addicted to any substance.
Oh, it blocks it.
It rewires you to where your receptivity won't. What happens is cocaine, opioids, alcohol all deal with the thalamus and the pineal. That's the part of the brain that it goes to and it activates and works into. Nicotine and caffeine is the only one that anesthetizes the whole brain. So when that happens, you have that rewiring to where your brain's neural net won't activate with that substance. So what you're looking at is something that I tell people to look at. A book is called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts by Dr. Gabor Mate, Mate hyphen. And he's a psychiatrist that works in the drug, the largest drug area in North America, in Canada. And what he does is he works with heroin addicts and different addicts, meth addict, crystal meth, all of them in this clinic. And what they do is they try to give them a safe space if they're going to do drugs, do it in a clean space with clean material to do this. But what he's wrote about is that addiction comes from trauma and environment. The traumas, the things that happen to us as children, the thing that we see happen to our children now, we got Wi-Fi crack addicts. These children are hooked on phones, and we are hooked on phones.
Yeah.
Because some people cannot, if you talk about losing their phone, they look at a person that's lost their phone and look at a junkie.
Same type of that.
Same anger and craziness. I can't find my phone. Same way. I can't get it fixed. You hooked because it's dealing with that part of the brain that gives pleasure. And so what we're looking at is how do we disconnect this neural net? And this is what this conference that I'm going on Friday is talking about. How do you treat, now that we've had to go virtual, now you have to take people online to give them treatment when they got hooked in the street.
How do you get them into a computer or something? Or
well, you've got the ones that can afford treatments and buy the computer and sit on there and do this, but you looking at the homeless people, you looking at the addicts that just can't buy the fix that they need or the drink that they need, and you telling them to go find a computer to sit down and go to a meeting when they used to could just walk into a room of AA, NA, Overeaters Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous. They could walk into a room where there are people and there's energy. There isn't the human energy on the screen.
Yeah, right.
It's just like if we're sitting here, if we had all the people that were on this call, on this Zoom, we were sitting in a circle in a room, even better, sitting on the land in a circle under a tree, we have a totally different frequency of learning in the environment.
Right.
It's how they disconnect it. That's why I say we need the overground railroad in order to create the oasis, which stands for our ancestors' spirits in service. Our ancestors is all over this country on land. The EJI in Montgomery, Alabama, the Equal Justice Initiative, April of, I think it was 2017, they opened up the Lynch Museum. The Lynching Museum they've opened up a museum because there were 4,400 lynchings in this country.
You mean
4,000
in the past or recently?
In the past. This is what happened during slavery and after slavery in 1900s, all the way up into sometimes in the 60s. They still lynching. They just got different.
We have a place here where called, okay, I'm not going to talk about it, in the state where some melanated men have been found hanging by a tree in the areas that we don't frequent as much. It's by a lake. There's silver. I'm not going to say, but there have been things that were suspicious. They say they're suicide, but you can't see how they would have committed suicide by getting up on the tree.
And then the other part, even with suicide, when you, and now that's why I told you about the book Brainwashing. And the thing about, but there's another book on, I put all my books in the office room. Now is any in here? I got a bunch of books here too. What am I looking for?
I don't know. We're talking about brainwashing.
Yeah, but what we're talking about is this.
The body keeps score. brain,
Yeah.
and it's by keeps the score. Can you move over a little bit so we can see the Bessel? Okay, Bessel van der Kolk. Yeah, okay, yeah, and I
And
had
see, the body keeps score is because things that have happened to you can push you to commit suicide. But once upon a time, that wasn't our way, because it was what Dick Gregory used to have. I think of Dick Gregory, Red Fox, says hard killing yourself jumping out a basement window. We ain't in no high towers. We were living in basements, so it was hard for us. We was already down. And so what we're looking at is how that we are now being programmed to take our own lives. That's what Bobby was talking about, menticide. They had gotten us to where we could kill anything that looked like us. Now we've been programmed to just kill ourselves.
Yeah, I have a book. It's probably behind me, but I'm putting it up on the screen that if anybody's dealing with traumas and so forth, it's called "Feelings Buried Alive Never Die," and
Right.
that's a really good book to use to deal with those types of issues. So, but yeah, so I think there's something a lot to be said for us getting back to our natural state, and I think a lot of us are not in
Here's a
position.
good.
Go ahead. Trauma and memory, a brain and body in search for the living past. Okay, by Peter A. Levine. Trauma and memory.
He right.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at this video so I can catch all these titles that you have down here. And a lot of us don't admit that we have problems. Especially, do you find that men are less likely to be forthcoming with regard to maybe having those kinds of emotional issues?
Yeah, because men are taught, what do they do, little boy? Men don't cry, don't cry. Well, why did God give you tear glands?
That's true. That's true.
Why did the Creator give us tear glands? We have to be able to learn how to release those emotions, because when you suppress those emotions of pain and hurt, you're going to have to find a way to anesthetize them. Drinking, drugging, gambling, sex, whatever. You're going to find a way to get some relief from those emotions. That's why we got the blues. We can sing the blues good because we know misery. We just put it to song. B.B. King and Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters and all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And about life. Billie Holiday. About life. I just did. We just did an interview with Miss Kim Weston from Motown. She sang with Marvin Gaye. It Takes Two, baby.
That Take Me in Your Arms, Rock Me. Wasn't that her? Okay.
She's the one did.
It Takes Two, baby. Does she do that?
Yeah, that was Marvin Gaye and her did that together.
Okay.
And she sang with Motown, but she was raised in Black Bottom. Black Bottom in Detroit. Every city had an area. You had Tulsa, you had Tobacco Road in Chicago, you had Black Bottom in Detroit, you had Buttermilk Bottom down here in Georgia.
And what is that? What were those places? What?
Auburn Street. It was in those areas that they're. And even in Marietta, you had another area over there in Marietta that the projects are in. These were areas that we had been pushed into, and this is what we gave names to our areas. Okay. These were our communities. Today, we just get in the hood.
That's right.
We don't have the big mama sitting in the window watching out for everybody. Don't have the counselors that sit there and say, baby, it's okay, and go in there to the kitchen table university, and I'll be in there and feed you in a minute. Because that's what we learned from. Sitting at our grandmother's kitchen table, our mother's kitchen table. Those women knew how to nurture and give you the therapy to make you get up another day and make another attempt at life. You don't have that connection. And we're losing it. There's 4 things that we're losing in our community.
What's that?
Values, morals, respect, ethics.
Values, morals, sex, and what?
Value, morals, respect.
Respect.
Ethics.
Can't hear you. Your voice is going in and out. That's why.
I'm doing the best
There you
I
go.
can.
Now we hear you. Values, morals, respect, and one other thing. What was the last one?
Value, morals, respect, and ethics.
There we go. I hear you now. So we've lost that.
We are losing it because people don't value themselves in doing what they do. Once upon a time, when we heard something on the news of hideous stuff, we knew it wasn't a black person to do that. Today, you be going, oh, Lord, please don't let it be one of us. And we didn't did it.
Yeah, we did it because we're learning the ways, their ways.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we're learning their ways. And it's unfortunate. It's so unfortunate that we've, and when you do hear these things, you're like, damn, you said you don't want it to be, but it is. Right. And
but we have been.
How do we get back? How do we get back?
One of the things is that we have to bring our children back to the kitchen table. We have to take our children and give them grandma's lap time. We have to take time and spend. See, children don't need money. They need time and love. Time and love is something that you don't get back to a child. If you don't give them the time and the love, they're going to go find it somewhere else.
True.
And they are now mostly geared because the parent is in their world and they're doing what? In the peer world, but they're mostly saying Facebook, I got friends and likes. That's how they value themselves. My friends I got 20 friends on my Facebook page. I got 15 likes. How is that gauging their self-esteem by something that's on a computer? We've lost touch with ourselves and how we value ourselves.
What about rites of passage? I know you were very much involved in that. What about returning, getting the young men and the young women through rites of passages? And how can we start that back up to get our children, on the right track, on the right path?
I was just sharing with you
the forest and the trees. Let me see. Turn it a little bit. It's turning away. Turn it the other. I know the other. The back. Okay. The forest and the can't see it all. Okay, there you go. Forest and the trees. The balance and connection of manhood and womanhood. Rites of passage by. Who was it by?
And Zinga Warfield Kopic. She's dead. She's an ancestor now. Here's another one that we had the program of, and that was dealing with the adolescents.
Okay, adolescent rites of passage. Yeah,
right. I mean, and what with rites of passage is a French sociologist or anthropologist learned and saw the African in the way that we were raising and had ceremony, how we did the ritual of moving our children into adolescence, and the word in itself tells you what to do. When you have an adolescent, add a lesson.
Add
a lesson of manhood,
add
a lesson of womanhood. You adding that, it's already in them. You're helping direct it with the right lessons of what your body is now telling you, that you're having to lose blood because you're having to be a woman and you now have the ability to create life. You have this sensation in your groin and you feel a certain way is because you have to go through the ceremony. Now that you're in that state, you don't circumcise at birth. you circumcise at adolescence.
That would be far more painful, it seems.
But
But
it's the part of being able to take that hood off and know that that pain is telling you now you're privy to go and do with this that you're able to do. When you take that pain as a child, you put that sensitivity into a baby that don't know what's going on when you uncover that hood.
mm,
It's rubbing up against stuff. It's feeling sensations. It's sending signals to that child constantly.
mm. Too early.
It's too early.
Mm,
What do we have? Teenage pregnancies.
mm.
It's too early when you do it in the right order, and that hood is removed when you're ready for it to step into man. But you have to be trained how to keep that animal under control.
Mm. Wow. That would be something. That would probably be something they would want to not do anything with after going through that at about 13 or so, I guess. That would
Right.
be a
and
deterrent.
and it would keep you in discipline, because the thing that I had to go through this pain in order to be able to come. I'm going to pick something that I know that I went through this pain that I can honor when I go to her.
Right.
You're not just going to go playing rabbit hop and thinking you Bugs Bunny.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
yes, there are all types of rites of passages.
so what
What?
happens? What should we do for those men and women who have reached adulthood and never had the privilege of, if you will, the gift of having had a rite of passage? Is there a way of ceremonially?
I shared with you 17 men from 22 to 47. They'd never been through rites of passage. It's a 9-month course that you go through in order to teach you the 7 stages of your development from birth to 70 when you become an elder, and to death. Because rites of passage is a way of life.
Hmm.
And if you don't go through the right, dang, he still act like a little boy. It's because you didn't go through the right training to release that part of you that you didn't get right. And even when I was in recovery, and even when I went through my rites in the hunt home, I had to go back 6 months before I was conceived. What was going on in the world before my mother and father conceived me? Because they both had the energy of that when they made my conception.
Mm-hmm.
So that affects who I am.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
each one of us. And these are what our ancestors knew. This was a way of life of training that we did that ceremony. And then you went back to the community, and the community honored you with celebration. Just as the same way when you marry and that child comes out, he's is courting on the culture of African tradition. He's given a day name on the day he was born. Kwame means I was born on Saturday. You're given a day name 7 days after you've been alive, that you know that they know that you're going to be here. The 7th day is a naming ceremony. You take the baby. Wait a minute. It was in. I got this out of National Geographics. That's an African naming ceremony.
okay, you got it's upside sideways. Uh, yeah, there.
I don't know. I'm trying to show you the pictures.
Okay, there we go. I see.
There it is. See it?
Yeah. Yes.
That's when the priest takes the child, and what he does with it, he sticks his finger into a glass of water or a cup of water.
Mm-hmm.
And then the finger is put into that child's mouth. and the child suckles. And everybody in the village, you see all the people around him. Then he puts it into palm wine or gin, and he puts it in the child's mouth, and it cries. It says that shows that this child knows right and wrong by just it responding to what it put in its mouth that doesn't taste right to it. It is the charge of the village to make sure it doesn't forget. Everybody's responsible, because what do we say? It takes a what to raise a child?
The whole village.
A village. Right.
Yeah.
But it takes those aunties, those uncles, those teenagers. Everybody's responsible for that child. That 2-year-old is responsible for that child in the crib. That 10-year-old is responsible for that 2-year-old.
Well,
we had a system.
Yeah, how do we do? If there, I see some comments. There might be some grown folks that want to go through rites of passage. Now we do everything virtual. Do you have adult rites of passage?
The Healing Lodge. You type in the Healing Lodge. They have it for women. The Healing Lodge in Brandywine, Maryland. It's one word. The Healing Lodge.
The Healing Lodge.
Right.
Is it on? Is it
It's online, and then you can go on the website.
Like .com?
I believe it's .com. Yeah.
Okay. And that's for women though. But how about for the brothers?
It was both men and women. They just stopped the program because they didn't get enough men to apply for the program up there. And I think Nkosi and the other brother are teachers, and they work in schools, and so it was trying to get enough people to see was it worthwhile, because they were doing it virtual, and men don't want to commit to virtual training online. So a lot of them.
That's unfortunate, because that's pretty much the way.
But what we had done before the COVID, she bought 5 acres of land in Brandywine, and we had a pole barn, and we converted the pole barn into a classroom. Then we had downstairs classes, and then we had upstairs classes. And that way we could do, and then and the 5 acres, we had a field in the back where we had a teepee, the inipe, and the land in which we took people out on and camped and did down by the creeks and things. Right now, we're doing what is looking to be available, hopefully by spring, is that we've got Nature's Garden at Tuskegee, Alabama. A sister named Muja has Nature's Garden. She's got 47 acres. She's taken 15 of those acres, and she's building A-frame houses, tiny houses for bed and breakfast. But also, when we begin to do training, those will be places where people can come for the weekend for training.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really good.
Plus, she has the garden, which is taught by the elder farmers in the area. Plus, the agriculture department at Tuskegee comes, and students there come and work on the land because they have community gardens set up. Naima Latif, what is it? Trauma, slavery, trauma. Anyway, she wrote a book, but she has in Chicago that they're setting up vacant lots and turning them into community raised garden beds in the communities. We have to begin to do not what we're waiting for them to do. We got to do what we need to do, because I have another brother that's going around in Mississippi and part of Alabama, the farmers and what they calling work trade, part of the overground railroad. The work trade is the farmer that's got 10 acres and the brother's got a tractor, and the brother got his tractor. They will come on the weekend and help plow up each other's field so they could get their crops out earlier, put up the longhouse where they'll be able to grow the saplings and put them up and set it up. So we're working without looking at trying to get paid for doing something. We're communally working, is what William Telger was attempting to do in
Ubuntu.
South
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. Right,
Ubuntu. I'm just reading it out there today.
right. Ubuntu was what, and
Michael Tellinger.
he was getting so attacked by it that he had to step down because they were coming after him.
Oh, that I highly recommend. Matter of fact, I'm gonna say I will put it I'll put it on flash drive.
You got to come.
Read. It's good. It's good knowledge in that he wrote.
Yeah, I've got it. It's in my office.
It's
Ubuntu, and then he's
consumptionism, whatever it's called.
right. But he also wrote when he wrote his book,
Slave species. I have that
The
too.
Mirror of Egypt. He wrote some history because what they were doing is they were researching the Kalahari, and they found the astrology places there in South Africa, the ruins of them, and found the places where they had observatories. When you were talking about how did they know where the stars were, we had all of those. They were there in
Yeah.
South Africa.
Yeah. They just, they're not telling the truth. They kept so much.
Well, that's why I say if you go into the library in a university, you'll find the HT section, you'll find the hidden truth.
Is it actually called again? Is it really called?
It's got now the Dewey Decimal. You know how the library has books cataloged
I
by
haven't been to the
alphabet.
library so long. I have my own library, so I don't need to go to libraries. But if it's something in there that's worth
Right, but
finding.
that's why. But this is what they're doing with what they call Mandela effect. Oh, I got it on the wrong part. Mandela effect is what they're doing is that they're electronically putting the books in, but they're eliminating some of the text of it.
Well, that's what's wrong with these ebooks. That's why I know Greg Sheik
That's
always
what.
says get hard paperback, get it a hard copy because they're changing stuff in these ebooks.
Yeah, and that's why I buy books. I mean I've got last count. I know I've got over 600 or 700 books right now. Got
Yeah.
books stacked up over there. Got books here, and this is outside. This is in my dining area.
I think I got a touch of beat. I got a couple thousand in here about now.
Yeah,
I
but
got a library.
what really got me in it, and Dr. Clark always used to say, carry your books in your head.
Mm-hmm.
When you read them, you carry your books in your head when you go to speak, because what you need to do is have the book, the page, the paragraph, whatever parts that you have that you're going to talk about, you carry it in your head. And you have the book there where you can go back and show them, because when I take these books and say, here, look at this, look at that, when you ask the question, I know that in this page is that this is in here. And so you have to begin to look at Greg Carr, him and Karen Hunt on narrative. I mean, when Greg's sitting in that room, he's got books stacked up to the ceiling. But Dr. Clark, before he died and he knew he was getting sick, he donated 20,000 books to the Clark Library at Clark A.U. 20,000 of his books.
Wow. That's a lot of books.
He had been collecting books since he left Columbus, Georgia, and went to Chicago, and then hoboed over to New York, and was running to Arthur Schomburg to ask him about the book Negro Digs Up His Past, and asked him, and Arthur Schomburg told him, he says, young man, he says, study the world history, and the missing pages of the world history is your history. He dedicated his life till he read himself blind.
Oh, is that what happened to him? His eyes?
Yeah, he read himself blind.
Mm-hmm. But he had it in his head.
Yeah, he had it in his head. But he used to tell the story of him, Chestnut, and Dr. Ben. They would go to the New York Library. They couldn't go in it. So what they would have to do is get a librarian the books that they wanted, and they would bring them down to the basement. And they would go to the back of the library to the basement, and they would stand there in the basement with no heat or nothing, and they would take
and pencil and copy the books. And they would warm their hand, take turns warming their hands on the light bulbs so they could finish writing. That's how dedicated they were to learning.
Wow. Someone was asking, said that you didn't say anything about the book Brainwash. I don't know. I have that book too. I've gone through it a little bit. I've had it for years.
Well, Brainwash, and the reason I did, because the brother, he's got a lot of information in it. But if you want to know about brainwashing and where it comes from, I would beg you to go and get. See that?
I can't see it. Are you holding up a book? The orange book? Are you talking? Because I can't hear you. We can't hear. Oh, wait a minute. You're muted. You're muted. Dark Persuasion by Joel. A History of Brainwashing. Joel Dimsdale. You have to unmute yourself. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Now, yeah, you were muted. Now, okay. Dark. Is it Dark Persuasion? We hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Can you show the book again? Just. Yeah. Yeah. Dark Persuasion. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, here we go. I couldn't find it.
Hear you.
Oh, you can't? Well, I can hear you very well though. Now, I couldn't hear you before because you were muted, but you're not muted now. So I don't know whether it's your headset or whatever. But we are at 2 hours and 17 minutes, and so are you there? Or can you hear me? No, can't hear me. Can you hear me? I'm not saying anything, but can you hear me now? Guess not. Okay. Hold up here. All right. We're getting ready to come. We're getting ready to wrap it up. I hear you, but I mean I hear me. We can hear if you say something, we can hear you. Speak. Can you hear me? Guess you're not. All right, y'all. Well, listen. Okay, I get it. Okay. Something is going on with Elder Kwame, Elder Sun Horse can't hear me. And so we're getting ready to get up out of here. I want to thank you all for I want to thank him for being my guest and for sharing his knowledge. I hope we can get him back because he's a wealth of knowledge and information. We sometimes have these technical difficulties because, as you know, some of the things that we touch on, or a lot of the things that we touch on, are things that they don't want you to know. So we did the best we could. I thank you for your time and for your attention. We're gonna let you go, and I'm gonna end this with a little promo since he can't hear me to end it. Again, sometimes stuff happens. We just get discombobulated, but that is how it is. Y'all know we do the best we can. All right, here we go. Let me do this. Here we go. Right here. Right now. Okay. So thank you all, each and every one of you, for sticking with me, particularly when we have stuff like this go on and we can't actually give you a straight show, but appreciate nonetheless. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Dr. G here, just checking to see if you've ordered your Chokeberry Plus. What? You don't know what Chokeberry Plus is? Oh my. It is an amazing berry that has the highest ORAC level of most berries known to man. Actually, it's a step higher than elderberry, and is much, much higher than berries such as noni, goji, and mangosteen. What is chokeberry, you ask? Well, chokeberry is an antiviral, it's antioxidant, and it's an immune system boosting berry. It also provides support and balance for the blood pressure, the blood sugar, and cholesterol. Yeah, in one little dose that you would take a day that's very pleasant tasting, like a glass of fine wine, you are going to provide yourself with a lot of protection, especially in these times that we're living in. Like I said, it's antiviral, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory, among the balanced support that it provides for the blood sugar, the blood pressure, and the cholesterol. You want to know how you can get yours? Sure. Just text CB3L to 302-345-0500. and we'll shoot you out an order link. You want to get yours today, especially these times we're living in. We need some added support and protection. So I highly recommend Chokeberry Plus. And let me say this. Chokeberry Plus, and the chokeberry is also what's known as the aronia berry, but all of the chokeberry products out there are not created equal. We've got probably the best tasting, and you'll feel it the moment it hits your taste buds, and it actually does some things as soon as it hits your mouth. I'm not going to talk about that, but it's going to be good for you, good for your family. You can get a 60 serving 3-liter box shipped out within 2 to 3 days, and it's going to come by priority mail insured. So again, text CB3L to 302-345-0500 and get your chokeberry today. Peace. Hey, listen, as I go out, I just want to say that there's been a few of you who have ordered your Chokeberry Plus, but you did not text your shipping address to 302-345-0500. So if you have not received your Chokeberry Plus and you know you ordered it some time ago, you need to give me a text with your address. Let me know who you are, because I know who you are. I just don't know how to get in touch with you. So just give me a call and give me a text and say, I haven't gotten mine. And we'll see if it's because you didn't give me your address. How about that? Again, I want to thank Elder Kwame Sun Horse for being my guest today. And thank you for being the amazing audience that you are. Until Friday. Or actually until next week for office hours, but until Friday, I'll be back with Red Sheep on Friday. So thank you so much, as usual, for tuning in. Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me. Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me. Dr. G.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.
Dr. G.